Hey, this is a response video to Sjporr. Why did I start homebrewing? Well, um, my story is a pretty atypical story of a craft beer nerd. But before I get into that, I'm just going to give this a little taste. BH Brewing sent me his pale ale made with Chinook, homegrown Chinook. A friend of his made the Chinook, or grew the Chinook. And this is his beer. He asked me not to review it, so I'm not going to bore you with that, guys. But it smells really good. And it tastes really good too. Very nice, very light, refreshing, yummy. So, I got into homebrewing basically because I was a big craft beer nerd. In my early 20s, I started off drinking Newcastle. That was my beer of choice. I didn't realize that Newcastle was skunked half the time, which I'm embarrassed to say now, but you know, because of those clear bottles, Newcastle's usually skunked. It's a okay beer on tap, you know. But that was my beer of choice. Eventually, I saw Arrogant Bastard Ale in the store one day with the demon on it and everything, and I read the bottle, and it was just real kind of interesting, appealing. It had more alcohol in it, so I bought that and tried it, and it was way too strong for me, but it gave me a buzz. So I would, buy one of those when I really wanted a buzz, because I didn't like spirits. I didn't like drinking tequila and vodka, and I didn't like sweet drinks. I don't like sweet alcoholic drinks. So that's what I do, is I'd buy Arrogant Bastard Ale. That's the name, Arrogant Bastard Ale. That's the beer that really got me into craft beer drinking. I'd go off between Newcastle and Arrogant Bastard Ale. Then I discovered a local brewery called Big Dogs in Las Vegas, and started drinking their Red Hydrant, which is a really nice amber ale. And it's much better than Newcastle. Kind of malty like Newcastle is, but a much better beer. And that turned into my favorite beer. But obviously I couldn't always get the Red Hydrant. I'd get growlers of it or whatever, but I couldn't drink it every day. So, I kind of rotated between those. Sometimes I'd try some other beers like La Fin du Monde. I remember trying that. I remember trying Dogfish Head Indian Brown Ale, which I hated at the time. Which is funny because it's a great beer. Really good beer. I just couldn't handle it back then. It was too sweet. In fact, I didn't like stouts that it had coffee flavor or too much sweetness, too much chocolate. I liked them dry, like a Guinness or something like that, but I couldn't handle anything with any kind of sweetness in it. And then about 4 years ago, I would say, I got a new job, and one of the interview questions was, "What is your favorite beer?" And I answered Arrogant Bastard Ale, and apparently they liked that answer because I got the job. And so the two guys I went to work with, my boss and my coworker. My coworker's name is Chris. They're IPA drinkers, and they were big fans of Big Dogs, and they were really big fans of hoppy beers. So we started going to Big Dogs and started drinking the IPAs, and since I had already been drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale, I could handle the hoppy bitterness, and I kind of developed a taste for those dry West Coast IPAs. And then, a couple of years of drinking that, going to Arrogant Bastard Ale, and my friend Chris, who was more into craft beer than me, he would ask, did you try this beer? Have you tried that beer? Have you tried, Maharaja? Have you tried Port Brewing? I love Port Brewing. I love Stone Ruination, and he would try all these beers, and he would start to cellar certain beers and stuff like that. So I started getting into them a little bit through him, and then one day he invited me to Corey's Fine Wine and Spirits in Las Vegas. It's a bottle shop that has a serving license, and on Thursdays they had a wine tasting, and the beer drinkers would show up. The craft beer nerds really would show up and share beer. So me and my friend Chris, we went, and And those guys were all real cool and everything, and they shared their beer with us, and they educated us. We'd have sometimes 20 to 30 different beers to try, and I did this for about a week, or I mean for a year on a weekly basis. About a year and a half. I've slowed down in the last year, but you know, drinking all kinds of crazy stuff, trying all these crazy McKellar's beers, Dogfish Head, sour beers, imperial stouts. One guy brought in like a 6-year-old Sammy Klaus. He's like, yeah, Sammy Klaus is disgusting until about 6 years. Excuse me. And it was good. It was really good. The Sammy Klaus after 6 years. Very nice stuff. You know, I started developing a taste, a palate for imperial stouts and barley wines, which I hated before. In small amounts, you can kind of develop a taste for them, and when you try, you know, 5 different barley wines in one night, just little sips, you can say, oh, that's not a very good one. This one is really amazing, and this is really good. Let me take a drink here. So those guys really educated me as far as beer styles, sour beers, you know, Berliner Weiss, Lambic, Gooses, coffee, beers added that have spices added to them, honey and fruit and all this stuff, and my mind really just opened up, and I just loved it, you know. So many beers that are just delicious, and these guys would get beers from all over the country. Around that same time, some of them talked about homebrewing a little bit. They didn't really homebrew much, or talk about it anyway. I'm not sure where I heard about homebrewing, but probably from my friend Chris at work, who was never really ambitious enough to do it himself. But I think he was interested in it, and maybe brought it up to me, I think. So, you know, I went on the internet, and I found CraigTube, of course. And CraigTube is the channel that really pushed me to do it, because it did seem complicated. I watched other videos like Jake CPU Nut, Bobby from New Jersey, Don Osborne, Tom Roeder, Take Some Advice, Terps Accordion Kid. You know, those guys, and you know, I was watching their partials and all grains and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. So, you know, I went into the extract. I watched Craig's videos like 3 or 4 times, his old Stinky Sweater videos, and they really helped me, you know, get started. Then my first batch of beer was pretty bad. It was it was fermented in my closet with the temperature fluctuating all over the place, and I knew it was bad, but I brought it into my craft beer nerd friends to try, and they're like, yeah, this is not very good, but, you know, good try for your first try. I wasn't scared. I don't care, you know. And then my second batch was a partial. My third batch was an all grain, brew in the bag, and I did that for a while before going to a mash tun. Only been brewing about 2 years now, and I've been really heavily into craft beer for about 3 years, I would say, minus the Arrogant Bastard Ale and the Big Dogs beers. So that's my story. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much. I basically just got into homebrewing because I loved beer so much. I just felt like I needed to learn how it was done, and to be honest, I'm a little bored with craft beer and sharing it and drinking it and trading for it and all that. I'm bored with it. You know, I'm always interested in trying something. I still drink a lot of craft beer, and I go out and spend more money on it, but I'm just not that into it as much as I used to be. Homebrewing is really a much more involved hobby to me, and more interesting. You learn a lot more too. So anyway, cheers guys, and thanks to Sjporr for asking the question. Cheers.